Hello. Today's date is August 10th, 2020. I am Ruby Falconer, and this is an astrological update for the upcoming week from the perspective of Shamanic Egyptian Astrology. We have some shifts going on, and we have some things that are remaining the same. The Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn alignment, which I call the Great Shift, is still very much in play. It's running from Capricorn 19 degrees through Capricorn 27 degrees. So that energy is still very constant and very much in our field. We do have the planet Mars this week will be moving into a square to Pluto. That will take place on the 13th. Mars has already squared Jupiter. That took place on the 4th, and it will square Saturn on the 24th. And that's the first pass of Mars in a challenging relationship to the Great Shift planets. That energy is going to continue on. Mars will be turning retrograde and will come back in relationship with the Great Shift planets again. So we're going to have a second pass and part of a third. But this process of the effect of Mars, the warrior king, in relationship to the Great Shift planets, Mars is in Aries, that's very much present. So that heightens the intensity of the Great Shift planets. It's been going on for a while, and it continues and will continue. So that's kind of the stuff that's the same. It's still very much here. We're going to continue to be affected by this alignment between these three planets, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, for the rest of 2020. So no news there. We do have some different energy in that Mercury is now in Leo. It's a quick jaunt through Leo. Mercury will remain in Leo until the 19th, August 19th. But that energy is there, and that's different than the energy that we had for the previous 2 months with Mercury in Cancer. And we now have Venus in the sign Cancer. So we still have some Cancerian energy in the mix, and that's watery kind of energy. It's very much about emotions and feelings, family, home, a desire to feel safe and secure. Venus is about values, and what Venus wants to receive is all of the attributes of Cancer: home, family, roots, safety, stability, security. So Venus in Cancer will Venus will remain in Cancer until September 6th. And that's also, Venus is picking up speed. Venus was in its previous sign, Gemini. It turned retrograde in Gemini, and it was in that sign for 4 months. So Mercury, the principle of communication, Venus, the principle of values, receptivity, what we want to receive, they've both shifted, and that energy is different. So some things, as I said earlier, are ongoing. Certainly the Great Shift alignment is ongoing, and just look at the world around us. The same issues that we've been dealing with since basically February are very much present in our collective awareness, and that's not going to change. And we do have something different that is happening this week. It happens on Saturday, the 15th. And what's going to happen is the planet Uranus is changing direction. So Uranus is the great awakener. Uranus is the shatterer. This is the energy of the unexpected. In traditional astrology, Uranus rules earthquakes. It sometimes is expressive of volcanoes, unpredictable sorts of events. And in our personal life, Uranus can activate some of those unpredictable events. So it can be the unexpected. I frequently say about Uranian transits, expect the unexpected. It's not really predictable. But if you have an event where you're kind of going this way and suddenly you're thrown off course and you're going that way, it's probably, there's probably a transit of Uranus involved. Because that's the way it manifests in our life. It shatters the status quo. And it's important that that status quo be shattered because it means that new life is coming forth. And when that happens, of course, it's unexpected, it's unpredictable. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable because, sometimes it's painful. Broken bones, car accidents, earthquakes, all of those things are not necessarily pleasant experiences. But Uranus has a positive side as well, in that it can be unexpected new friendships, it can be unexpected opportunities, it can be those aha moments where something happens and we go, oh, I really get this now, I see the light. New realizations, new visions. That's all Uranian energy as well. So Uranus is all about something changing quickly, unpredictably, sometimes in a difficult way, but there's always opportunities, even with some of the more difficult things where something gets destroyed is a reflection of a Uranian transit. It means that we can build something new in its place. And so Uranus is in the sign Taurus. Uranus stays about 7.5 years in a sign. It's been in Taurus for a while now. And it's changing degree on the 10th degree of Taurus. It will be retrograde until mid-January. So it's going to be retrograde for quite a while. And it'll start backing, retracing some of its steps. It'll go back to the 6th degree of Taurus. So it's in that time frame between 6 and 10 degrees. And so, Taurus is the sign, an earth sign, and it's about embodiment. It's about coming down into our body and occupying our body spaces. It's about the earth itself. And we can expect during this time that Uranus is in Taurus that we're going to have concerns about things going on in the planet, climate change, various things related to, extreme weather events. That type of thing is going to be drawing our attention more and more. And Uranus in Taurus, there may be earthquakes. There may be something going on. Actually, I live in Western North Carolina, and just this morning, or yesterday morning on the 10th, on the 9th, there was an earthquake. And it was not strong, but I come from California, so I recognize earthquakes. I was standing in the kitchen a little after 7 and felt this rattling. I thought, that's an earthquake. And I picked up my phone a little while later and saw, one of those notifications that there had been an earthquake in North Carolina. So, we don't get a lot of earthquakes here, but that's the kind of thing that kind of comes with the territory of Uranus. So we can be paying attention to that this week. And we can expect in our personal lives, there's an opportunity here that something is going to be shattered and there's going to be an opportunity for the release of new life. That's very much what the Great Shift Alignment is about. I've said this a lot. It's about the dismantling of the established container of society. So every now and then that dismantling, it isn't always a slow process. Sometimes there's going to be something that takes a chunk out of it, that is more of a shattering in some way. And Uranus is also known as the Great Awakener, because out of that shattering process, we are in some way awakened to something new. For those of you who are familiar with the Tarot deck, Uranus has a lot of the characteristics of the Tower card. And again, not everybody likes a Tower card. The Weight Rider deck, it's the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and there are people falling off of the building because it's leaning. So it has that energy, that things can happen, old structures can fall. So, pay attention this week, both in your own life and collectively, for unexpected, deeply transformative events. And once Uranus does turn retrograde, it does mean that we will have all 5 of the outer planets plus Chiron will be retrograde. That will be Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron. They will all be retrograde. And what this means, the outer planets have to do with transformation and change, particularly the planets Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. These are the ones that represent the generational types of changes that people go through. They stay in a sign for a very long time, many years, ranging from 7.5 years for Uranus, all the way up for Pluto when it's at the, Pluto has a very elliptical orbit, but the point when it stays in a sign the longest period of time is around 44 years. So it can be anywhere from 12 years to 44 years, depending on where it is in its orbit. So we're talking about a generation, generally speaking, for these planets. And they are sometimes called the generational planets, in that they describe the backdrops of the times that we are born into. And when they move into relationship with each other, and when they move into relationships with points on our individual parts or points on a collective part, this is when transformation and change happens. And when they are retrograde, and when you have all of them, plus Jupiter and Saturn, which is the principle of the oppositional principle between expansion and contraction, both of them are retrograde. And Chiron, the wounded healer, the principle of healing, when they are all retrograde, there's a kind of a stasis, a kind of a status quo that's being established in some particular area. And so right now, the status quo is around this ongoing, continuing dismantling of society. So it's just going to keep on happening bit by bit by bit, over the next several months. So it's where we are, is what we all have to adapt to. So in the language of Shamanic Egyptian Astrology, the planet Uranus is allied with Wadjet. That name is spelled Wadjet. Wadjet is the cobra. She is representative of Kundalini energy. She's the Kundalini Queen, the Cobra Kundalini Queen. She represents a shattering that takes place within us in order to allow life force energy to flow. So metaphorically, this cobra works her way up through our spine and cracks through blocks to the free flow of Kundalini energy. And there are various somatic practices out there. There's Kundalini yoga, there's Kundalini dance, there's a form of breath work that's called Kundalini breath work, there's the Kundalini breath. All the intentions of all of these processes is to, in a sense, activate this energy that cracks through resistances to the free flow of life force energy. That's what Kundalini is. It's life force energy. It frequently moves through sexuality and sensuality, so it can be associated with the lower chakras, with the sacrum, with the genital area as the source of generative power that moves up our spine. And it certainly is about sexuality and sensuality and the expression of sensuality in the world. But sensuality is life force. So whether we're using this energy, in an intimate relationship, or whether we're using it to break out of some place where we've been stuck so that we can manifest something in the world, is that life force. We need to activate our life force in order to, in some way, generate something, to move out in some way. Any creative process, whether it's in the traditional role of sex, so to speak, from a religious perspective, it's about procreation, whether it's about procreation or whether it's creation in some other way, we need our life force. So when Uranus is stationary, it gives us that feeling that something is wanting to break free, something's wanting to crack out. We all, through the course of our life, end up with blocks in some way. These blocks to life force energy are frequently learned in childhood. There's things that we're just not allowed or we're not approved of. And it's not always just around sex. It can be about any creative endeavor. You can't sing, you can't dance, you're not creative, you can't draw, whatever it might be. And so that area of expression within ourselves, that expression of creativity, that ability to in some way affect others and affect the world, gets stuck, gets blocked. And the beauty of a Uranian energy is it's about becoming first of all aware that we are in some way, got that energy and it needs to move. And then it gives us that impetus to break through, to crack through. That Kundalini energy, that Cobra energy is going to move on and break through. In many traditions, the snake is considered to be the metaphor for transmutation. And transmutation is the concept, the idea of taking poison, and a block that may have been learned in childhood can be thought of as a poison in some way and transmuting it into gold. So there's a transmutation process, it's an alchemical process of transmuting something into another kind of medicine in our life. Snakes are often associated with fertility and with the generative quality of the divine feminine, the sexual generative quality of the divine feminine. So it's powerful energy, and Wadjet is a powerfully transformative goddess. She's often associated with lightning bolts and with, sudden activations of energy. She's very present even now as I'm speaking. She's not technically stationary yet, but for all intents and purposes, it takes a telescope to see Uranus, but if we look through a telescope right now, this planet is not moving. Its movement is so minute at this point that for all intents and purposes, it is already stationary. Will be for all of this week and moving on into next week. And the 15th, Saturday, will be that turning point when it will be exactly stationary and will turn from being direct to being retrograde. So that's the astrological highlight of this week. It's the strongest astrological energy that we've got for this week. And so I would like to offer everyone a journey with the Cobra Kundalini Queen with Wadjet. And so I want to invite everyone to get comfortable. Put your feet on the floor if you can. Close your eyes and take a couple of nice deep breaths. Exhaling fully. And really using the breath to help you to drop down into your body. This energy, this Wadjet energy, is about our bodies. It's about those blocks and resistances that we carry within ourselves on an energetic level. So use the breath to kind of start softening them up, to help you sort of drop down in and fully embody your form. Stretch yourselves in all the way down to your toes, all the way down to your fingertips. Sometimes it's like putting on a tight glove. You have to have a little effort. You have to wiggle your way in. Deep breaths. And I invite you to imagine that you were in the desert. It is a hot day, not unbearably hot, but it's hot. Deserts tend to get hot. Wadjet's about fire, lightning bolts, crashes of energy. This isn't a water goddess. This is about fire and intensity. She lives in the desert. Imagine that you are walking through the desert. And it's hot, but it's beautiful. You're not overheated. You're enjoying the day and you're looking around at the landscape. There's lots of different versions of the desert. You might be walking on sand dunes. You might be in the southwest of the United States. You might be somewhere in Africa. Many desert environments, Australia. Some deserts are extremely colorful, striated colors of rock and stone and rock formations. Some are flat and extend into the distance. And then there are the sand dunes. Wherever you are, it's right for you. Just allow yourself to see this place that you have come to. This place of starkness, a stark beauty that surrounds you. And you become aware. You see now in the distance, you see something slithering across the earth, and you realize that this is a snake, and it is moving toward you. And you may have a moment of fear. We have been programmed to fear snakes. And not by coincidence, many of us also fear the power of our life force. We fear the strength and power of our Kundalini, our sexual energy. But take a nice deep breath and know that this snake slithering toward you will come no closer than you wish it to. Will come in contact with you only if you are willing. So as this snake comes closer, you realize that it is a cobra. You see the large head, and it begins to rise up in front of you. Again, it will come only as close as you are willing to have it. And as it rises up off the earth, it transforms into a beautiful, incredibly sensual and curvaceous woman. And she stands in front of you, emanating power and strength, focus, sensuality, sexuality. And if you are willing, she makes eye contact with you. And in that connection, a message is transferred to you. She asks you if you are willing to receive a healing from her. And because of the nature of who she is, a healing from Wadjet involves contact, physical contact. And if you are not comfortable with this, you can ask her to keep her distance. But if you are willing, allow her to come closer. Allow her to wrap herself around your body. Allow her to begin to work with you, to work with any blocks that you carry along your spine, anywhere else in your body, perhaps in your heart, in your solar plexus, maybe in your belly, your sexual centers, your third eye, your throat, anywhere where there is a block toward the free flow of life force energy. And so I am going to be quiet now for a couple of minutes and allow you to receive the healing energy of Wadjet, the Cobra Kundalini Queen. And know that if at any point you are uncomfortable, you can ask her to stop, and she will. She will separate from you, or she will back up, whatever you need. But if you are willing, allow her to work with you closely. Allow her to work with you on your physical body. Take a nice deep breath now. And to whatever degree you are able, receive a healing from Wadjet, the Kundalini Cobra Queen. And through this process, remember to breathe. So take a nice deep breath now and anchor the healing you have received from Wadjet. And she separates herself now from your body. And perhaps she offers you a gift, perhaps a message, perhaps a symbol of some sort, a color, an image, a memory. If such a gift is offered, accept it and give thanks. Give thanks to the Kundalini Queen. And you become aware now that Isis has joined you. Our old friend Isis. That dear nurturing force who joins us at the end of all of these meditations. She wraps her rainbow wings around you. She invites you to lean back into her. She reminds you that she is always here. She is with you through every process of transformation and change you go through. At any point in your life, whether you are aware of her or not, she is always here, holding you, healing you as you move through these processes. She is with all of us during these times, these incredibly stressful and demanding times of transformation and change. Isis is holding us all. So I'll be quiet for a minute and allow you to lean back in her loving arms and receive grace from the Queen Mother of Heaven. Nice deep breath. And taking a nice deep breath, begin to slowly come back in the room. And I want to invite you to remember this connection with Isis as you move through your week. If you feel anxious or unmoored in some way or afraid, remember the Queen Mother of Heaven. She is always with you. Call her name. Take a moment to look for beauty around you. Isis is found in the beauty that surrounds us every single day, the beauty of nature, the beauty that lives in the eyes of those we love, the beauty that we create ourselves in our environment. The Divine Mother is there. So thank you. Thank you for being with me. And we will talk again.